Jana.
Goodness.
This
Hi,
meeting is being recorded.
I love it. Hello, Belle. Hello, Beverly. Hello, Nehemiah. So good to see you. Hello, Linda.
I love you and I'm with you.
I love you, and I'm with
I love
you
you and I'm with you too.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Hi, Cornelia. Hi, Carol Ray. Hi, Jana. Hi,
Good
Esther
morning,
Francis.
good evening, good moment.
Hi, Charlotte. Hi, Katie. Hi, Belle. Hi, Gill. Hi, Renara. Hi, Lynn. Hi, Tara. Hi, Catherine. Hi, Beverly. Hi, Marsha, Linda, Nehemiah, Anna Ray, Clarice. Let's see, who else? 𝗬𝗙𝗘𝗧𝗦.
Oh, it's so good to see everybody. Shipra, thank you so much for such a great welcome. Wonderful. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Today is July 30th of 2023, and we come together on these Sunday mornings to be able to experience love and to talk about the principles of this incredible book, Ancient Secrets of a Master Healer. And when we apply these principles, miracles appear. So we love being in this community, and this community is so unique. It is so full of love, so full of love. Today we have a wonderful guest and a beautiful program planned. We get to talk about this wonderful book, Love is the Only Truth. And I just have got chill bumps all over my body. I just finished reading it this morning, and it's an amazing book, just amazing. So before we get into that, I would like Carol to give us the announcements.
Oh, thank you. So excited. I hope everyone received our beautiful newsletter yesterday. It is chock full of information and links and stories about people in our community, people across the globe. And I hope let me see who did not get the newsletter yesterday. Raise your hand. You don't have to do the mechanical one, but you can just wave your hand if you did not get the newsletter. I'm not seeing a whole bunch there, so that's wonderful news. So one of the announcements
Where did the newsletter come to? Where would I look for it? I'm sorry.
In your email, and sometimes it gets flagged as spam. So you can look in your trash folder or
what will it say?
I'm sorry?
What would it say? What am I looking for?
It's from Dr. Clint G. Rogers, and the Ancient Secrets Foundation is who it'd be from.
Okay.
And because it's a mass mailing, sometimes, it does find its way to a spam folder. So do look there. And Jana may have the link for you. If you need to sign up for it, you can put the link in there. One of the announcements, we had some beautiful artwork from 𝗬𝗙𝗘𝗧𝗦 in Nepal that the girls in the home that Ancient Secrets Foundation has helped provide. So the artwork is fantastic, really, really beautiful, and hope that you get to see that, and how excited we are to see the progress that they're making there in the orphanages in Nepal. There's also a list of programs that are starting. So for August, there's something new, brand new. It's called Ancient Secrets 101. And it's for those people who are just coming into the community who don't have a clue about an 𝗓𝗙𝗙𝗑𝗧𝗦 or an 𝗓𝗙𝗙𝗑𝗧𝗦 or mung bean soup, and why anybody would want to eat it. So it really is a foundational thing. If you've been in the community a while, it's probably not the best thing for you. But if you're new and you're trying to kind of grasp the big picture, this might be really helpful for you. And I do believe we have a discount the rest of this month, like with just today and tomorrow. Cornelia, do you have that information about what the fee is?
Yes, now I have to think for which one. Yeah, the code for the discount is actually summer 23.
2023, summer 2023.
I will put it in the chat in a second if you give me one moment, because I was just connecting to Facebook. So
and I just put the link in the chat, and so okay, we're good.
Okay, so one of the things about this is that we're doing it twice a week. You can choose a morning session on Wednesday morning or an evening session on Thursday. So we're trying to accommodate our European friends as well as our North American friends. So those two options are available to you for the same cost. You can do it to both times if you want to repeat each week as well. So we hope that you'll look at that and see if it's for you, or if you have a friend that you would really like to introduce to the basics, then that would be lovely. And then we're also getting ready to kick off our Miracle Experience game in September. And that'll be 4 major sessions with daily activations that we've done in the past. And so that's something that you can read more about in the newsletter, and is also available on the website if you're a member of our Kajabi community. So those are the 2 big things that are coming up. There's also information about Dr. Clint and Dr. Giovanni being in Hungary. They're doing the book launch in Hungarian. And then a really exciting trip for Japan. Ken Honda, the #1 author in Japan, is endorsing Ancient Secrets of a Master Healer. And we have a book launch in Japan coming up September the 23rd on a Sunday afternoon. And so there's information about that too. So much going on in our community. And just one little note, many of you have seen some of the postings about horse rescue. It's in the newsletter. And as of this morning, somebody in our community, Peggy Taylor, has used her credit card to save the last of the 10 horses that we were trying to save from slaughter. And so she's just put that on her credit card and going on faith that we'll be able to get the remaining funds and find forever homes. We're down to 4 horses in Texas that we are trying to find forever homes for. So if you have any information on that, feel free to send that to me, Carol K. Ray at me.com. Put that in the text in the chat. And you can also send a generic email to team@myancientsecrets.com and let us know if you have any information on that. And I believe that's it for announcements. Thank you so much, Dana.
Wonderful. Did you talk about the MEG?
I did.
Okay, great. I missed it. I was focusing on something else. So wonderful. I just wanted to make sure.
I did.
I just want to, before we have Renara, wonderful Renara, drop us in from our head to our heart. I just want to thank Cornelia and Carol, these 2 beautiful ladies, for all that they do for this community. Cornelia is going to be dropping off the call quickly, and I just wanted to send a blast of love to both of them. Carol was up pretty late last night with the horse situation. Thank you for your sleepless nights, Carol. Oh my gosh. And you too, Cornelia. Oh my gosh. They performed amazing miracles this week. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Renara, we would love to have you drop us from our head to our heart.
Hello, beautiful people. I'm very happy to be with you, with all of you. And just, it's better if we take one moment of silence. And also, I suggest that the headphones will be much more better, because already the sound through the Zoom and computer from France to everywhere, it is already not 100% as we want. Sorry. And but with the headphones it will be better. And so we just will take one moment in silence and breathe as each of you breathe before the meditation. And with the closed eyes, it is with the closed eyes, we connect to our heart and invite the grace. It can be the saints or the masters or master healers, usually you invite for your prayers. And if there is something very, very alive in this moment, like emotion, situation, or feeling, just be in that. And if there is one burning question or burning desire, also you can go in. So just we will take small moment of silence, and music will find the right moment to come for all of us and for each of us.
Absolutely beautiful, Renara. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your presence. Thank you.
Everybody, I want you to put how you are feeling in this moment in the chat. As we're doing that, I just was reminded that when we hear those beautiful notes, that sound is creation. And when Renara puts her fingers to the keys, and I've just got chill bumps, she creates this state that elevates us. And it's beautiful. Renara, your talent is so incredible. Thank you. Wonderful. I would love to see what you're putting in the chat. Maybe I can't see my chat. Beautiful. Renara, just please read these. I feel peaceful. I feel so connected, serene, tingling. Thank you. Ah, so beautiful. Wonderful. Well, with that, I am so pleased to be able to announce Gill. And if we could spotlight Gill. Let's see if I can do this. There.
Hi.
Gill
It's-
has, go ahead.
No, that was just so beautiful, Renara. Thank you so much.
There we go.
Thank you, Gill.
Oh, beautiful. I could have just stayed in that space.
I feel like I am still in that space. It's just,
I think that Danny already came here.
Yes, she is. Denny is definitely here.
Yeah.
definitely. Renara, thank you. Renara's music was a special request from Gill because Renara has an incredible way of being able to channel energy and to be able to channel. She brings it through to her music, and Denny definitely has been channeled here. And we're going to be honored to have another musical number by Renara later on after we get
And
done.
I want to say that her violin is here, Dennis violin. I had this chance to inherit that.
And for those that don't know, that was a little violin that Renara took on. It had been Denny's because, of course, she was very musical. That was one of the instruments she played, was the violin and the piano and the guitar. So she had that, and so it went to the perfect home. It couldn't have gone to a better home. Denny had huge respect for Renara and huge love. So, you know, it was just lovely that that's where it went. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Joe.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, just so that we kind of get caught up on what's happening, is Gill is the co-author of this book. And how this came about is, first of all, Gill is best friends with Denny. And Denny and Gill came to the Ancient Secrets community, and we can probably explain that. I'm crying already. And when they came to the community, we fell in love with them. And Denny has wanted to create a book all of her life. And through the graciousness of Dr. Clint and through the wonderful, open, vulnerable people of the community, they were able to have sessions with Denny, and they recorded them in this book, as well as other wonderful surprises too. So Gill, with that, I'm going to just turn this over to you because you can do much better with it than I.
I don't know. I was enjoying listening to that. Yes, this book. Oh, It's just wonderful that it's actually in print. And for those that don't know, I walked beside Denny for nearly 30 years. And again, for those that don't know, she sadly passed away in 2021. And we hadn't completed the book, but it had been, you know, I had interviewed her a lot. I asked her lots of questions and taped them all. We'd already done the one-to-one sessions that were recorded. And so that, you know, a lot of it had been done, but there was still stuff to finish off, which luckily I was able to do. So going back to how I met Denny, I'm sure some of you might like to know that. For those that read the book, I apologize that you will have already read it. But many, many years ago, I decided to train at the College of Healing, which is about 40 minutes away from here and in England. And at the same time, so did Claire, and so did Denny and her daughter Claire. And we all were waiting to go into the course and were gathering in sort of the bar area that was serving coffee and tea and cold drinks. And I had an instant recognition with her and with Claire. It was like, this is my family. I've met up with them again. It was an extraordinary experience. And that's how it all started. She didn't live down by me at that point. She lived further up the country in somewhere called the Lake District. So I used to go up and see her and stay and spend some time with the family, and she used to come down to me. And the long and short of it is, Spirit insisted that she move down south to my area. At that point, we didn't know she was going to be living 5 doors away from me. So she used to come down and stay, and we used to dowse which area we were going to, you know, look at and get a feel for. And she kept on coming down for long weekends, and we kept on dowsing, and yeah, that feels okay, that feels good. And then we started to get the estate agents involved, and they would find places, and we go and look at them and do a yes and a no. And then the final one, or the one before the final one, we were looking. The estate agent was late. Sorry, put my teeth back in. The estate agent was late, and we'd looked in through the windows, and we were going, no, this isn't the one. We were just about to leave. He turned up and said, well, there is a place that it won't go on the market. The person who owns it is really particular who rents it. And it's not actually somewhere you've asked for. It's actually in Broadway, which is where I was living. And it's in a little lane called Springfield Lane, which of course we were going, what? And it turned out it was 5 doors away from me. And she moved. And it was just an extraordinary thing. I think part of it was because, of course, later on, she developed rheumatoid arthritis. And it soon became apparent that she was going to need help and support. And it was a no-brainer. I just stepped up to support her as much as I can or could. And then over the years, it became more and more. But I think, you know, that was one of the reasons. At the same time as us becoming absolutely the bestest of friends, I realized that she was really, really spiritually evolved. And she started sharing with me and teaching me in a way that it became really normal to be like that. And it was just quite extraordinary. And so her guides were helping her as well. And I started to hear her guides. So I'd start off saying, Jen, could you ask them this? And I'd hear the answer as she was giving it. So that was quite extraordinary. And also, it was interesting because I'd never come across anyone that had almost a direct link to spirit. And she just seemed to have simplistic answers for things that you think, well, why didn't I think of that? So when I first was walking beside her, I had an interesting habit asking her, why have I got this pain on my shoulder? What should I do about that situation? You know, to get the answers rather than me working it out. And I think she got to the point where we went, Jill, stop it. I'm not going to answer any more questions. So I then stepped back in that sense and was, you know, finding my own way. I still think on some level she was helping me and guiding me, but she wasn't verbalizing it. So that was an interesting one. So yes, so I knew Denny for nearly 30 years. And so I walked beside her nearly all that time. And it's just been extraordinary. The way she's taught me and the way her guides have guided and taught me as well has just been miraculous. And she had a group of guides that worked with her. And she tells the story that she was part of this group and it was debated who was going to come back, and it was Denny's turn. So it was her time to come back, but she still had this group of guides that she could connect to. And when she passed, I was so devastated at her passing. And then on top of that, I had the realization that actually I was going to miss all her guides. I was, you know, because they were like family. And I discovered that some of them have stayed with me, which has just been magical because I really didn't expect that at all. So that's been fantastic. So that's kind of how we started off our path together. I have to say that we both had the wickedest sense of humor because we laughed our way through life, I'd say. And some of the situations that we got ourselves in was just extraordinary. I mean, yes, she was very highly spiritual, but she was still a human being, you know, and we had lots of laughter, lots of coffee and cake and things like that. So it, you know, things like we'd laugh at the fact we'd go on holiday together and we'd go to a wood just to look, it's fine, because we both love bird watching. And this one particular time we saw an owl, and you don't normally see an owl in the day. So we were following this owl to get a better view, and suddenly realized we hadn't got a clue where we were. We were in the middle of this, I say wood, but I think it was probably a forest. I think we'll put it like this. At that time, it was definitely a large forest. I don't know if it actually was, but it felt like it, because whichever way we went, we could not find our way out. And I think Spirit must have went, oh, okay, and sent this little elderly man with a little old dog, suddenly appeared on the same path and was going, could you tell us the way back to the car park? And he's sort of saying, well, which car park? And we're going, right. So we walked with him. I think he probably thought I better walk them back to the car park, because if that's the wrong one, we're going to have to sort something else out, you know, and we laughed so much about it. That was our tonic, the laughter. And I think it really does make a huge difference. A huge difference.
Yeah, absolutely, Jill. I do believe that. I believe that laughter is a form of transforming or transferring, you know, the heavy emotions. Absolutely.
Yeah. So we tried to write this book for years, and I'd sit down and write lots of questions to ask her. Didn't really happen. And then I remember this one time we were going on holiday and we thought, right, this is the best time to do it. We're relaxed. We haven't got any commitments. Neither of us are working with our clients. Families are all okay. So we lashed out and we got a little microphone recorder, and off we went on our holiday. And we thought we'd probably do it in the evening, you know, when you just can play cards. There's only so many games of cards you can play, or so much television you can watch, or so many books to read. So we thought, right. So we tried, and it really didn't work. And then I said, well, where do you get your inspiration? And she said, well, it's when I'm working with someone on a one-to-one. So I said, okay, well, I've got this going on for me, you know, how can you help me? Honestly, we tried everything. It really, really didn't work. And then one of Denny's bucket list wishes was to go on a cruise. And so we did. And we were on this cruise, and we were paired. We'd never been on a cruise before. And they sort of said, well, how, you know, do you want to be on a table for 2, a table for 6, a table for 10? I'm like, I haven't got a clue. And he said, well, what's quite popular is a table of 6. Okay, we'll go for it. So we went on a table of 6. And it turned out that the people we'd paired with were absolutely wonderful. And we all got together for our evening meal, and we spent the whole evening laughing. And other people in the restaurant started coming up to us and asking us, not could we be quiet, but could they join us? Just because we were obviously having so much fun. And anyway, there was a talk arranged, and it was I had to write his name down because I keep on forgetting his name. Lord Digby Jones. I had to write this down too. He was a former minister of the state for trade policy, and then I think he backed out of that, but he did he'd help either parties with trade for the United Kingdom and things. Anyway, he was giving a talk. In fact, he gave 2 talks, but he's written at least 2 books. And his final thing was, if anybody would like to sit down and have a cup of tea with him and discuss writing books, we had to put our name and our room number on a piece of paper and put it underneath his door. Well, as soon as we told this group on the table that Gill, it had to be me, of course, who'd put our names and my room number on a piece of paper and put it under his door, I got so teased. You know, and again, there was huge laughter. Anyway, we did sit down with him and have a cup of tea, both of us. And he was so helpful, and it was just beautiful. But Denny had an impact on those that met her or had sessions with her, I'm sure will agree with me. Denny was a very special person, and she could have a massive impact on people. And I pulled this book out because we were both given a book by him. And inside, he put, to Gill and Denny, best wishes, and then he signed it. Thank you for inspiring me. Now, he's a guy who's written quite a few books, and we were inspired, or Denny was inspiring him, you know, and because she was on about why she wanted to write a book and what it was going to be about. And for someone who didn't know us, why would he write that? But he did, and to me, that's really special. You know, and so I think going back to trying to write the book that we just couldn't do, it just wasn't rolling. Nothing was flowing with it at all. And then to be on the Ancient Secret calls and Clint asking Denny what did she want, and for her to say, I want to get my wisdom out to as many people as possible. That was so magical that everything started to fall into place. You know, Dr. Clint set the ball rolling, and the community just came together, offering in lots of different ways to help and support. It was extraordinary. And you knew that this book was meant to be by the way it all flowed. So, yeah. So without the Ancient Secrets community, there wouldn't be a book, but there is. So, and it's special. Everywhere I go, you know, I've been doing car boot sales when I was going to Sedona to raise money to go to Sedona. And for those that don't know what a car boot sale is, it's a bit like your garage sales, but much bigger. It's usually in a big field, and there's lots of vans and cars and people selling anything from clothes to toys, you know, and then everything in between. And so I was putting out a sign. I photographed the front and the back and laminated it and put it out and said I was raising money to go to Sedona. And I must have had in all probably about 12 or 14 people took pictures of it because they wanted to get the book. You know, so everywhere I've been going, I've been, you know, talking about it and stuff. So it then took me on to what are people's reactions? And on Amazon that you can write, you can do how many stars you rate it and write about how many, you know, if you want to write actually about the book. And the number of people, we've got 11 people have written about it so far, or I think it's about 6 have written and 5 have done the stars. All of them have done the stars, but 5 have just done the stars. And that's what, 2.5 months? And we've got those already. I printed this off. Are you happy if I just read one of these reviews? Would you mind? Is that okay?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Okay, so somebody wrote a life-affirming book that you'll want to read again and again. This is a book written by a remarkable woman. Her simple words and advice are the depth and the power of the underlying message. It is a book for the soul, it's soul food, and asks us to truly love ourselves, warts and all. That was a good phrase, Denny would say, warts and all, so that we can have a fulfilling life and give the world, excuse me, and give the world our best version of ourselves. I knew Denny as a friend and a mentor. She was the real deal, a courageous, highly evolved soul with a big heart and deep wisdom. I know she wanted to share what she had learnt from her own voyages of self-discovery with as many people as possible, and this highly accessible book is part of that legacy. I'm ashamedly biased. The words of advice and stories in the book to me are like a multi-layered cake. A really good read, a big dose of love and powerful advice for those open to living from their heart. And it kind of, you know, I just think it's magical that.
It is magical. It is very magical. And I love the saying, warts and all. She used that with me in my session. But I would like you to share a little bit more about Denny, maybe from the very beginning and why she became so wise and how the wisdom came about.
How the wisdom, it came about because for those that haven't read the book, from birth really, she was put into an orphanage by her mother and left there for 6.5 years. She was actually then taken back out of the orphanage by her mother, but that's another story. What happened in the orphanage was her and 2 other little girls all got sexually abused, and it damaged them all in different ways. And what happened was, because of that, Denny was going out of her body, and the spirit was taking her out. So she felt more at home being out of her body than in. She didn't remember all this to start with, and it wasn't until she did some work when, as a young person, she was having physical problems as a result of what had gone on, not having remembered what had gone on. And then, of course, she found out, and as you can imagine, it was a bit of a shock. And so with her being really connected to spirit, and usually what happens normally is with little ones, they're connected to home, you know, but they lose it as life starts to evolve. But Denny didn't, she kept it. So she was more at home being out of her body and being home with the spirit world than she was in her body. And so that's why she had that very, very strong connection to spirit. And she never lost it. And spirit guides, and in the book, it talks about this, it guides her all the way through her journey, her life. You know, she loved playing the piano. She was an opera singer. She, you know, trained to be an opera singer. She sang in front of the Queen, you know, and then Spirit took it all away because that wasn't the path that she was supposed to be on. So all these different things were building up for her to then realize, actually, there is something else. There's actually a piece in the book that I'd love to read, which kind of sets the scene for how she springboarded into a different direction.
Yes, please.
Yeah, would you like me to read that? Okay.
Absolutely.
Now, I have already read this once when we were in Sedona, and what was interesting, I was going through the book, working out what to read, and I kept on coming back to the same part. And it was like Denny was going, no, I want you to read that again. So what's interesting with Den is that when you worked with her, she very often would say something more than once. And she might say it 3 or 4 times. And the reason she did that, she was watching your energy to see when you actually connected to what she was saying and got it. So she'd keep on repeating herself, might be in slightly different ways, sometimes not, sometimes it was exactly the same thing. Did it with me. I'm talking from experience here. And so I find it interesting that I'm being called to read the same part again. So for those that have heard it before, enjoy. And for those that haven't, enjoy, hopefully. So this is chapter 3, and this is Finding My Calling. My life-changing experience was witnessed by a senior woman doctor who was in the ward with us all, having her leg amputated. So Denny was actually in hospital having operations, big operations. I couldn't get out of bed because I had so many tubes in me. One day, a beautiful little old lady who had a dark, awful energy was admitted to the same ward. It turned out this sweet lady, so innocent, so gentle, had cancer. The daughter came back with the lady's suitcase and left. It seemed the daughter had told her that she couldn't possibly look after her and that she wasn't coming home and would have to go into a cancer hospital to die. The little old lady quietly wept. That night I dreamt. I dreamt that I got out of bed, leaving all the tubes behind, and went to the bed of the little lady to sing Ave Maria to her. Now it's not in the book, but she has told me at that point, she didn't actually know all the words to Ave Maria. I did something with my hands. I have no idea what. I do remember the Ave Maria and the clarity and the pureness of it. Nothing moved. Nobody came into the ward. When I finished, there was a loving light. This woman so desperately needed to be held and loved. I was part of a world as air and wind. Oh, hold on, I think I might have jumped. Hold on a moment. I have. I do apologize. I've gone to another page. Just bear with me a moment. That's really, really weird. Here we go. Well, that doesn't sound quite right. You can tell I've read this book a few times. When I finished what I had been asked to do, I found myself walking back to the bed, getting into bed and reconnecting to the tubes. I then went to sleep. What a strange dream. In the morning, the doctor who had had her leg amputated came up in a wheelchair. She had a piece of paper which she had written on and put it very gently down on my bed. Denny, last night I was awake the entire time. It seems for a reason, she said. I have written the reason. I want you to read it, but read it quietly and carefully. Well, thank you very much, I said, and tucked the piece of paper away. That night, when it was all peaceful, I read it. She had witnessed the entire event. It wasn't a dream. It had actually happened. The letter said that this was my future, my life. I was there for people. I was there for love. And to be honest, I freaked out because to me, this had been a dream, not reality. I couldn't believe what she had seen, what she had witnessed, but she wouldn't know my dream. She witnessed this. It took 2 years for me to then go, I have got something to do here. I'm now ready to do it. And so I began my journey studying therapy, psychotherapy, healing, and Eden energy medicine. Many times I've been told that I'm carrying the world energetically. I don't think it's a solo thing. What I do know from my world is that I've been shown and told that I am also made to watch that the work I am doing and the learning I'm doing embraces the work that others are learning and doing. I am the overall healer of that situation. And that's where Denny, realized that life was different. Life was changing. There's so much more in the book for those that haven't read it. And for those that maybe have read it, you may find you'd like to read some of it again. It's magical. And, each time I read it, it has a profound impact on me.
Absolutely. It has had a profound impact on me.
I wondered later if you'd like, not now, but I know Renara is going to play some more music in a minute. Would you consider sharing a bit about your experience with Denny interviewing you and working with you, and not interviewing you, but working with you, I should say?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Would love to share.
Good. Oh, Esther's saying it's one of my favorite passages in the book. Yeah, it's just magical. What's also magical, I was at a healing festival and I didn't feel I could actually have this book on the table because I didn't really know the people running it, but I had my laminated bits, and I did have one book which I had underneath, and the number of people that held it and said they could feel the energy of the book. And I haven't actually said anything about the energy of the book because, of course, it's got Den's energy in it. And then Dr. Clint got it blessed in its rough state when he went to Nepal, not this year, but last year. So it's, it's such a special book. So
it is awesome. Do you want Renara to play right now?
Yeah, what do you feel? Should we have a little pause of me chatting and have some Renara magic?
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think each of us can connect to, actually it's up to you. It is really free. I had this privilege to be with Denny in the same part group in the 100-day course. And the sense of humor of Denny, it was actually the essence of our group. and actually, yeah, the life without humor and without music will be very, very sad and bored. So someone who doesn't know Denny can maybe just to connect to the heart, and I'm sure that Denny will appear this by her unique way. And for me, it is very, very special moment because my husband also had the consultation with Denny, and we communicated with Denny during our 100-day course through the music. So Welcome, Denny.
Wow.
So beautiful.
Thank you.
Esther Francis, are you available to share, ask your questions and to share?
I am so deep. That was such a profound experience listening to Renara. I was transported immediately to an experience of waterfall and recall of a rainbow at Yosemite with the waters pouring, and just feeling this connection with the divine love, with, feeling. Then, oh God, then, Renora, as it got more jubilant, I was like, the phrase came in, I felt like fireflies, like we were all, Denny and Gill and you and I and anybody and everybody feeling this divine love as fireflies, dancing and flickering and emanating divine love light. I'm still very deeply in the experience. Renora, oh my God, that was extraordinary.
I wanted to share this photograph because when you got to the jubilant part, I just thought of Jill and Denny just laughing.
My God, that was so great. Oh my God, look at them. Oh, Denny. Oh, those eyes, that depth. Oh my goodness. Oh, and Donna. I love Donna Eden, and I've had the blessing of experiencing her in person in New York. Yeah. Wow. Wow.
Well, Esther, you had a couple of questions and a couple of comments. Are you in that frame of mind where you're grounded enough to be able to ask them?
I didn't know that. I don't remember that I had questions. You know what?
Oh, I thought you had. Anyway, I'll have to read back through the chat, but
I know I made a couple comments, but I don't remember making any questions.
okay. I thought you said ask Jill if she can tell us something about the book.
Nope, that wasn't me. That wasn't me.
Oh, Francisco. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I got you right at the right time, Esther.
Can I just follow on from something Esther said about Rainbow? When Denny passed, just before she passed, I'd said my goodbyes, and I felt I wanted to leave Claire and James, her two children, with her. And so I said my goodbyes, and I was just driving away with my friend, and we looked up, and the cloud formation was extraordinary. Absolutely, I've never seen a cloud formation. And my friend said, look at the clouds. And I said, they're celebrating Denny's passed, and she had. And it was an extraordinary, so rainbows and, rain and clouds, it honestly, it was an extraordinary thing. We just knew that Denny had gone home because of what we were seeing. So I just wanted to share that.
Oh, I have to respond to it if it's okay. In Vajrayana Buddhism, Tibetan Buddhism, that is often one of the most frequent signs when a great realized being called a Rinpoche passes. So wow, Denny, what a confirmation.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so beautiful you had that experience, Jill.
Yeah, it was. And we just knew, and literally as we said it, so the message came through that she had, so that was extraordinary. So it just reminded me with you talking about rainbows.
Wow.
So.
Well, that music was absolutely beautiful. It just reminded me of Denny, that seriousness and sereneness and connection with spirit. And then all of a sudden this jokester and laughter, and it was just so fun. Renara, thank you again. Thank you again so much.
So are there any questions that need answering before?
Shifra, would you like to ask your question?
Well, I didn't really have a question. I just wanted to share that was very powerful. I never had the blessing of meeting your mother, but I heard about her at the Unstoppable Love Gathering, and I felt her. She was like right there. She came. I often feel people who have gone very often, and I could just feel her. And she said she wanted to take my little girl up to God for a while to heal her. So I can have a little break, and she kind of told me things I could do to help to heal myself, and that I had to love myself, not just expect it to come from everybody else. And yeah, I just said she was a very beautiful spirit. I could just feel her goodness and her love and her beauty. I wish I had the chance to meet her in.
Well,
I think you did, Shifra.
I did. I was going to say I did. As soon as I said that, I said I did. Yeah.
I just want to make a comment, because I can feel Denny laughing at this. So you said your mother, okay? When Den and myself were out, the number of people that thought I was her daughter, and she got so rattled with it in a funny way. She said, I'm not her mother. I'm not that old, which I thought was hilarious. So, we laughed so much about it. So you saying that just reminded me, and I can feel Denny laughing, because Denny is very much with me. It was just so funny because it didn't happen once. It happened a lot. So I just thought
the relationship that you and Denny had was so unique, and it was like you guys are twins,
Well, we have been many lifetimes. We knew of about 4, and we were told, or Denny was told, that we both had to come back individually this time for specific learnings. And Denny wouldn't have had the learning she had, especially if we'd been together. So, so next, and she did find out that next time we can be back as twins again.
Wonderful.
So you're saying that, yes, it was an extraordinary friendship, and my family, because my husband had passed, so my family all saw Den as their second mum, and the same with Claire and James. They saw me as their second mum. So it was an extraordinary friendship that we had.
Nehemiah, did you have a question?
I have a comment. It's okay. So first of all, I was very touched by both of you, Gill and Daniel, was here without being there physically, and doing our music and Esther comment. It reminded me 2 things. One is that everything happened for a purpose. Such a demonstration. Especially the thing we hate most are suffering, abuse, and whatever. So there is some force there that we don't see when we suffer, but it's for a purpose, if we are ready to embrace it. The other thing that it reminds me is the sign that we are given when someone passes. My other brother, I didn't tell you about, he was adopted brother, passed away not long after my brother. I never believed in God or spirit because that was the inculturation of secular kibbutz in Israel. So, as he was passing, his wife requested to take him out to the graveyard, even though it's going to rain, and nobody wanted it. They wanted to do it in an auditorium. She said, no, my husband loved nature. It has to be in nature, even if it's going to be rain. So they took the coffin to the graveyard, and all these kibbutz that never believed in God or whatever, or at least not that they know of, was sitting around the graveyard in a road, and it was going to be rainy and muddy and everything. And the sky opened, the cloud disappeared, there was no rain, only on this area. And then the moment they finished to bury him and do the entire ceremony and came back into their home, it started to be flood and rain. So God has a way of telling us things, and we have to learn to listen. And in the case of your mentor, a soul partner, whatever name twin you call her, the learning is abundant, and we can all learn a lot from reading your book and from just listening to you today. So thank you so much for sharing your beautiful heart and the beautiful heart of Danny with us, and the same to Renara and to Esther, who always share from my heart. You don't need even to have to make a comment anymore.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nehemiah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Francisco, I would really love for you to share before we hear from Belle. Francisco, if you can come off mute. There we go.
Thanks so much, first of all, to Gill. It's amazing. I haven't read the book, but I remember from the first page of the book of Dr. Clint that says something, and please correct me. I came here not to teach you, but to love you. And also in the book of those of us who have read The Ancient Secrets, Dr. Naram has at least, I don't misremember, a couple of times when people were hurting a lot and they were in the brinks of either an addiction or in the brinks of taking away their life, that Dr. Naram basically mentioned, what do you want? And they answered, we want to be understood, not judged. And also, I would have greatly appreciated Gill could share with us her feedback of how can we love and guide those who are hurting in those terms out to the brinks that a thought might have come up in terms of trying to end their lives, or those who are hurting, how can they, or how can we heal ourselves by loving? And given all the experiences that you and Denny went through, some of those experiences, I've went through them when I was a paramedic for many years in Mexico. So I would greatly appreciate if you could, within the basis or the founding of loving, as Dr. Naram's showed very nicely in the book, as well as your own experiences, for us to learn about it.
Thank you. Thank you for that very profound question, actually. Thank you. So when you were talking, for me, what came up very strongly is that for us to be able to support and help others, it's important that we start with ourselves. And the deeper we can love ourselves and respect and honor ourselves, respect, honor, love ourselves, the more we can do that, it then starts emanating out from us. So literally we could be sat with someone who is hurting, and with our presence, with our energy, that we are strong in our belief of loving ourselves, that starts to radiate out to that person. We don't necessarily have to do anything but be with them. So it starts with ourselves. It's, you know, it's, if we start trying, the way I feel and my take on is, if we start helping others, but we haven't helped ourselves, we get a very imbalance. So the energy that we're radiating out isn't a balanced energy. So to bring it back to yourself first, but also within that, it's really important to have fun too. It doesn't have to be serious, you know.
Jill, if I could make a comment,
Yes.
because it reminds me of, thank you, Carol. I was hoping that you would raise your hand, because I will let Carol speak before I speak. Go ahead, Carol. Oh, you're muted. Let me unmute you. You're unmuted now.
All right. I was just going to follow that up with, I had so many lessons from Denny, but one of them was about self-love and filtering information. And one of the hard things when you're really striving for unconditional love is, how do you put in boundaries? How do you protect yourself energetically and still say, I love you unconditionally. I understand you. I support you. And she and I had a lovely conversation about that boundary, even with the spirit guides, because I've had those most of my life. And sometimes you get information that's not from you. And you're saying, is this good? Is this bad? Is this just, is it neutral, right? So what Denny said was, ask that information. If your light isn't greater than my light, you must leave. It's a simple qualification. And it's the same thing if somebody's energy, in your physical space, there's negative energy that's coming towards you. You can put up your shield and say, I love you. The God in me sees the God in you. The light in me sees the light in you. The light in me loves and knows the light in you. But if your light isn't greater than my light, you must leave. And it's amazing how just will drop to the ground. And it was such a powerful lesson from Denny. She had two others I'm just going to share briefly, and you can read it in the book, but I'll give you the teaser. She told me how to make decisions using your body as the pendulum. And it's a beautiful thing. And she also taught me how important it is to invest in the youth in your own community. I used to travel to the Philippines to work with kids who were sex trafficked and teach art and music and English and whatever. But now I'm on the board of directors for my local youth group and volunteer my time. And because Denny shared with me how important her work was with the kids locally, and how she even sponsored a football team. So I have so much love and admiration and so many stories, and just the things that she shared with me were so meaningful. And I was able to help, she helped my daughter. She's helped so many people that were also in orphanages who had never, ever in their entire lives felt heard or understood. And within 10 minutes, a conversation with Denny said, I felt the first time in my life I was understood. So it's a beautiful gift that she had. Thank you for the time.
I want to follow up on that, because in the book, Alyssa's story is told, and Alyssa was in a great deal of pain. And Denny advised her that it starts in the mind. You can have love for yourself, but if you allow those negative thoughts to come across your mind, you're going to be putting yourself in a vulnerable position. You can be your own worst enemy by allowing those negative thoughts to come through. And if I was working with somebody and in that situation, I would say that when that negative thought comes up, quickly switch it and find the gratitude in it. Find, what is this? What is the reason why this is coming up? But anyway, Alyssa's story is very powerful regarding pain. And, I can't imagine that level of pain and the amount of negative thinking that you would go to because you're in so much suffering, so much angst. It was very powerful to read. So thank you.
It was life-changing for my daughter to hear someone say, oh, you chose the learning lesson of pain just like I did. And they had a big laugh about it, So yeah, really incredible.
It really was. Tatiana, it's so good to see you. Oh my goodness. Hello, hello.
Hello, nice to see you too, Jaina, and all of you guys. And also, I would like to comment something about what Gill said, and definitely I agree with Carol and Gill, because I would like to share with Francisco, because definitely he witnessed a lot of people who are in pain. And because I have been in this kind of pain, maybe he witnessed, and I went to commit suicide. And this moment, what I want is just exactly what Gill said. that somebody to be next to you and to hold the light. That's it. And you feel, and also because after I couldn't succeed suicide, even I tried 3 different ways, I went on the journey to find why, and I learned a lot. I learned many modalities, I learned a lot about that. And one of the things what I learned and why, because I'd like to explain how actually it's work. It's work, let's say, as we have a room with full of different clocks, and every clock is different in a different time. But after a while, when they open the room, every clock shows the same time as the biggest clock. And when you hold the light, this is how you become sync, and this is how you help Francisco. That's it. This is what I would like to share. Thank you.
Tatiana, thank you so much. You have been on such a journey yourself. It's beautiful. That's absolutely right. When those clocks, they come in and they're synchronized differently, and then eventually that they start to synchronize together. And that's exactly what happens is when you hold that vibration, that light. Mm-hmm.
Because the biggest clock, they go to the biggest clock. And because when you hold the high level energy, the low level energy come higher. That's coming to you. And definitely I was in a very low place, and I needed person next to me to be holding the high. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. It's so good to see you. In the book, Denny talks to a person about sometimes we have ideas about the way we want our life to go. Denny wanted to be an opera singer. She had her life already planned out before her. And then it shifted. And I believe, if I remember right, Jill, and you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, but because of some of the surgeries that she had to have, because of the abuse when she was a child, she was not able to continue down that path. And it's very frustrating. And I remember from the book, she said, sometimes the universe or spirit has a greater plan for you, and then you follow that plan rather than, you have the idea of what you want. And Tatiana, that's what it reminded me of when you decided, to unsuccessfully take your life 3 times. The life has a different plan for you, but that you need to be in that position to be able to help other people, like Francisco is in the situation. And your testimony of what you have learned and what you've shared can absolutely benefit other people. And so we're so grateful for you and for what you've learned. And I personally am very grateful that you are here. Let's give everybody a big blast of love if we could. I'm going to put it on gallery view. Okay, we're on gallery view. Wonderful. Awesome. Thank you so much. Jill, did you want to go I don't believe that there's any other questions.
Okay. I asked you earlier if you would consider sharing, you had a session or sessions with Denny. How, would you like to talk a little bit about that? How did you find it?
I'd love to. I would love to. When Denny and Jill came on the Sunday call, it was before the 100-day program. I was so touched by her story, because her story had parts of my story in it. And I knew I had found somebody who would be able to hear me. I had a secret that I didn't tell anybody, or I told very few people. It was the first one that I truly just opened up to because I felt safe. She was so full of love and understanding, and she understood because she had been through what she had been through. It was miraculous. We sat down and I could feel her energy. We were just connecting, and she read me. so spot on. Her abilities were just amazing. And being able to be held in that space and be in a place of love and safety, it gave me the opportunity to be able to speak. And that is one of the things that she had said in my session, is that I haven't had anyone to turn to be able to communicate, because my understanding was different. And being that I was so young and didn't know how to communicate what I was experiencing, you know, several different things, but I was able to just open up and have my voice shared. So her session has stayed with me. And even yesterday, as Jill and I were talking, we were talking about a certain situation, and I went, that's what Denny was talking about in the book, what she had given me during my session. And these things that she has shared with Carol, I mean, you can see Carol has learned from it, and the wisdom that she brought forth through this book continues to go on and on. And when I was, I bought this on the Kindle, and then I had my phone read it to me. And when I was listening to some of these stories, I resonated with bits and pieces of the wisdom and knowledge that she had shared with these other people. And it was absolutely healing, to be able to hear, what she talked about with people was so intimate. People were sharing from their heart things that they wouldn't normally share. And her wisdom was so guided, and it was so profound, and it was so beautiful. So I highly recommend it, and I absolutely will be reading it again and again and again. Thank you, Jill.
Thank you, Jana, for sharing. Thank you. That's just wonderful, and I'm sure we all felt that in our hearts. So I have to say, with this book, it's not just the one-to-one sessions, which are very profound. There's her life story and how spirit weaves its way through it, but also there's some techniques to use. And then at the end, we discussed this, but we actually haven't done it. So I chose some things that happened to the pair of us. Most of them are very funny, but there's a reason why spirit did those things, or set those things up. And when you read them, you might think, how can that possibly have happened? But they all did, honestly. They so did. And it when I wrote them, and when I went back thinking about it, I thought, you know what? My greatest friend was a very special person. When she passed, a friend of mine who's a shaman said, Jill, do you realize she was one of the masters? And I said, actually, I did, but I hadn't put it in those words. I just knew. Yeah. And so I really feel that she's given us a massive, massive gift of this book. And I really hope as many people will read it, and as many people will tell other people to read it. I really do. It's magical. It's magical.
So I had one other little thing I was going to share, that when we were in the 100 days and in the miracle courses, one of the things we talk about is nothing is a miracle or everything is a miracle. And once you move to that space where everything is a miracle, life changes the way you look at it. And I had one of those this week. It was yesterday, day before yesterday. Oh yeah, it was Friday. I was pulling in for some lab work at the doctor's office, and I had reached out to a friend of my daughter's to say, hey, how about recommend a breakfast spot since we're in your town. And he had listed a few of them, and I was had thought we'll do that. But when I'm coming in, Spirit's saying this Mexican food place is where you need to have brunch, and I'm thinking, no, we've already talked about this. We have a plan. It's like, no. It's like this light shining on it. This is the spot. I'm like, really? Well, okay. So I go to my appointment. I text a friend saying, change of plans. Let's meet at this little place here. And so we go in and the food was terrible. The coffee was terrible. And I'm thinking, really? You're doing this? You know, am I being punished for something? This is awful. And so my friend and I had a great conversation, my daughter's friend and I. And so when I get ready to leave, I have a pretty new car. I've only had it a month or so, but when I went to start it, it was dead as a doorknob. Dead as a doorknob. So I call my friend back, you know, like, hey, don't leave. I'm stranded, damsel in distress. And he's a great mechanic and happened to have tools in his truck. Happened. And so he comes over and I said, you know, there's cars on each side of me. We can't jump it. So what are we going to do? And he said, let's just take it out. I'm like, good idea. I'll Google on my phone. And he pulls it out. It says interstate battery. I go to Google, where's my nearest interstate battery? And I'm 35 miles from home, right? It says 86 feet away. The place that I need is 86 feet. I turn around and it's like right there. And I go in and they just happen to have a special. I got it at 50% off. I have somebody with me. You know, it was just a beautiful resolution that I couldn't have possibly set that up. And had that happen in my town, the nearest place is 35 miles away that I could have done that. So it's just amazing how that was masterful, how you and Denny and so many people can live life as if everything is a miracle if we just are open to it and receive it with love and just let it be. And what can we learn?
I love that story. I love it. You know, it just shows you when you trust and you're open to it, how you're guided and how life flows. I just love that. Just magical.
Awesome. Now, Jill, were you going to read one more thing from the book?
Was I? I might be. I now have to find where it was. Talk amongst yourselves for a minute. That's when I went into panic and went onto a different page. I lost where I was going to read it.
I was trying to, there's some wonderful quotes all the way through the book and wonderful pictures of Denny and Claire and Jill. It was wonderful. Just being in Sedona with Jill was magical for me. I was able to share a lot of time with her. I picked her up from the airport and was able to be in the same house and room as she was in. And she lives this. The energy that is with her is very profound. And in our home in Sedona, there were many women and lots of different energies that were coming in. And Jill orchestrated us to, or the group, I wasn't there because I was doing some other admin things, but the whole entire home gathered in the living room and held hands in a circle and just did the word Om. They just did Om 3 times. And the energy just settled. It grounded and it just really came to center. And so for the talent show in Sedona, she wanted everyone to get, in our house to get up on stage. Now I wasn't involved in the circle because I was doing admin things. So everybody else went on stage and did the Om 3 times. And it just settled. The whole entire room, the energy just settled into this beautiful oneness and high frequency. It was absolutely beautiful. So, and that's what I told her. I said that, Jill, I am amazed at how you live this. And it was such a great learning for me. She does her energy practices every day. And she shares with me. She's beautiful. Even yesterday when we were chatting, Denny definitely came through. And I was like, I saw that. Francisco, would you like to say again? Oh, you're muted. Let me see. Let me unmute you. There we go. You're unmuted now.
Yes. Thanks again a lot. Again, Jill. We were just, Jana said, could you please be so kind to share those energy practices? Because what I found for myself and for those who are hurting and on the brinks of saying, that's it. If Dr. Naram used to say to each and every one, what do you want? And I've made that question to them and to myself. And they say, oh, I want to be at peace. However, what I found is that many of them keep, and even myself at many times, keep regurgitating on thoughts that keep them, according to Dr. Joe Dispenza, on the first lowest 3 energy centers. And they get stuck, we get stuck with hatred, resentment, regret, sadness, all those that are not elevated emotions, but are just survival emotions. And then the energy simply doesn't flow.
Yeah.
And we rob energy from the unified field, which we don't use for our own healing and the healing of others. And we cannot even impart healing through energy flows on the one field, unified field, and updates. So please, now that you are with us and the blessing that you're with us, share those practices with us, please, if you would be so kind to do it.
Okay, so there's several different aspects to my energy exercises. I meditate. We all know we do meditation in our own way, if you're drawn to that. But also it's important to get our energies flowing within us, within the different systems of the body. And one of the simplest ones, which some of you will know, because some of you went, oh, because there was a picture of Donna Eden with Denny and myself. And you can YouTube it, it's free, and it's a 5-minute routine that Donna Eden teaches that actually gets all your energies flowing in the right direction. And it can take you to a whole different level. And then if you want to just put the icing on the cake, after the 5-minute routine, if you Google radiant circuits with Donna Eden, and she teaches you how to connect to your own radiant circuits within your being, and it shifts your energy beautifully. So anyone can do that, standing, sitting, you know, if you're in bed or you're in a wheelchair or you're stood up, it doesn't matter, you can still do them. And they are really, really simple exercises with a profound effect. That's what I would suggest.
And that's the ones you use with your clients?
I do. I teach them because I also energy test people, because each part of the 5-minute routine, I can separate them because they connect to all the different systems of the body. For example, have you ever had a time where you're in bed, you know you've got to get up, but your whole body is resisting? Your whole body does not want to get up. It is so exhausted or tired or emotional. And there's a test. And so what happens, what happens is your energies are going backwards because your body does not want to get up. Okay. Then there's a test I can do where I will ask someone to walk forward and I'll energy test them, and they should be strong. I get them to walk backwards and they should be weak, because walking backwards is not a natural state. And the number of people that are the other way around, so walking forward as you walk in life, they tested weak, and walking backwards, they tested strong. And there's something called the 4 thumps where you tap here, 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 and here, and it's in the 5-minute routine. And that shifts your energies and they start to run forward. So every single part of that 5-minute routine is really special, really sacred, and quite profound. So I will teach that to my clients and energy test them and show them that by doing different things, how it can shift their energy. Okay, that's in this time that we have now, that is the simplest thing. No, simplest is the wrong thing. In a short space of time that we have, to me, that is a wonderful thing to do, is the 5-minute routine, and then Google radiant circuits. exercises and tag that on.
Could it be possible 5 minutes to show us how?
No,
No.
no, because not really. I could, but no. I'd have to move everything. I do that, and if anybody wants me, just get in touch and I can video it and send it to you. Okay, that's
Thanks
what I
so
can
much.
do,
Yes.
but not now.
Yes.
And
Okay, so-
Carol placed Jill's contact information in the chat. So if you
Thank
wanted
you.
to get in touch with Jill, she does do energy sessions. She does energy healing. They're absolutely amazing. So I highly recommend you contacting her for a
Thank
session.
you. So I thought, thank you, Jana, for that. I thought, and I wondered why I couldn't find what I'd actually done. And I suddenly heard it's because we need to end on a laugh. So I'd like to read to you one of these funny things that happened to us. Okay. And remembering that Spirit set these things up, there was a reason for them. So this is what happened. So it was not long after Denny moved down to Broadway, 5 doors from me. And I thought she might like to see the area. So I said, would she like to have a run out? And this is what happened. Not long after Denny moved down to live 5 doors away from me in Broadway in the Cotswolds, I said to her, why don't we have a picnic and have a run out? Sorry. We put together a picnic and go off somewhere. And I'll show you some of the sites. Sorry, let me just start that over again. I am not reading this very well at all. Not long after Denny moved down to live 5 doors away from me in Broadway, I said to her, why don't we have a picnic? We can put together a picnic and go off somewhere, and I'll show you some of the sites to see in the area. Denny thought that was a great idea, and I said, where would you like to go? I don't know, Jen replied. What about Tewkesbury? I think I probably pulled a face at that point. What does that sound like? There's an abbey, a river, and part of the town to a quiet, which is old and quaint. We are bound to find somewhere to have a picnic. I've just seen a spelling mistake. That's what threw me. They've left out, a word has been left out. So our original plan was to go to the Abbey first, but decided that by the time we had got our stuff together, it was time for lunch. And so we prepared ourselves, food to take and all that sort of thing, and off we went. The first thing was to try and find somewhere to have a picnic. We eventually found somewhere. We managed to park up. So far, so good. We took our picnic with our picnic rug and discovered a massive field with no one in it. Plus, it was right by the river. That was one of Denny's. I love being by the sea. She loved being by the river. We decided we wouldn't go too close to the river, but somewhere where we could watch the boats go by. We chose our spot, laid out our blanket, got all the food out, chatting away as you do. We put the food out on the blanket, and all of a sudden, we realized we were sitting on a rather large red ant's nest. I don't know if in America, in this country, black ants don't bite you, but red ones do. We packed up our food quickly, hoping we weren't taking any of the ants with us, and moved away to another area in the field. We put the rug down, put all the food back out, and sat down again. We were closer to the river at this point and started eating and chatting. Suddenly, a boat comes along the river. There's a group of people who are extremely rowdy. They are shouting, screaming adults, really, really loud. And to finish it off, they decided to stop virtually in front of us. Really? We sat there for a while thinking, this isn't quite what we had in mind for our picnic. So we moved again from the mountain of red ants. We moved from the boat, which had very large people, very large, loud people. So they were loud. You couldn't even hear yourself right. Shall we move again? We packed everything up, sat somewhere else, far away from the noise, because it was quite a large field. This time we went nowhere near the river. We were right at the back of the field. We sat back down, got out our food. It was a lovely sunny day. And we weren't in a spiritual mood at all. We weren't really paying attention. We were there having time out and enjoying ourselves. Now we are eating our food for the third time, and there, all around us, blue skies and one cloud directly above us. Suddenly, the cloud starts raining on us, just us. Okay, life has got our attention. We knew we were being reminded to actually tune in and find out about any actions that we were taking. Spirit was trying to tell us, this is not right that you are here. The energy wasn't right for us on that particular day. We packed up. We didn't go and see the Abbey. We went back home and sat on a picnic bench in Denny's garden and had our picnic. We actually felt we had had our knuckles wrapped, to be quite honest. Although there was a lot of laughter in it all, it was like, for heaven's sake, raining, the only cloud in the sky, and it happened to rain on us. So we were talking about it and actually tuned in. Tewkesbury, bearing in mind this was a long time ago, when Denny first came down to live in the Cotswolds, and when we tuned in, we realized that the energy of Tewkesbury was quite heavy. It is in the history books that there were a lot of battles there. When we tuned in, we could see the river ran blood, so to speak. It was really heavy, and basically Spirit did not want us there. It took 3 attempts for us to pay attention. It's worth saying that Tewkesbury has a much better energy these days. I know a lot of work's been done on it energetically. So it was funny, but it really was as though we'd had our knuckles wrapped because we hadn't tuned in, we hadn't asked permission, we hadn't asked if it was okay to do, because we were having time out, we were being human. And we were really told, I mean, I think the final straw was one cloud in a perfectly blue sky, and it rained on us. So I think the moral of the story is, if there is a moral, is to say, tune in and get a feel of something before you take an action, even if it's a picnic.
I love that. I love that. Thank you. Thank you.
It's okay.
Thank you.
I do apologize. My reading could have been better. I've got like some, but because I have to say this, right? And you could all now have a good laugh. So when we're setting up before we came on, they're going, there's too much light. This is 4 o'clock in the afternoon, my time. So Carol, Cornelia and Jane all said, draw the curtains. So I've drawn both curtains here and the other side. Hence, I can't read the book properly.
Well, we thank you because the light was so bright, we could see a real bright light and real dark, you know, so we were so grateful that we can see your full, beautiful space. Okay. Wonderful.
So that's why I blame everyone else. That's why I couldn't read the book properly. So I feel that's Denny having the last laugh, actually.
Jeez, that's wonderful. Thank you. Well, Cornelia is going to set up the breakout rooms. And while she's doing that, Nehemiah, did you have another question?
Another comment. Okay?
Yeah.
First, I want to acknowledge, Gill, the amazing nourishment as inspiration, but especially the 2 cherries on top of the cake at the end. The 5 minutes, I'm going to, with your permission, to steal it from you and use it for myself and for my energy client. The last story, amazing. What I wanted, the reason I felt incomplete, because I talked about a man so dear to me, my adopting brother, and I didn't honor him properly. His name was Avishai, and although he did not believe in God, you don't know it, like half of the population in Israel is secular. This is the enculturation in our country. He gave so much love in his life. I invited him to the ashram. I tried to do things for my family. No, he didn't believe it. Even he didn't experience and negated it. But he gave so much love in time of war. He was risk himself for other people. And when we love, we the spirit doesn't care what we believe in. We are spiritual. And therefore he got this powerful transition, such teaching to his community, and he's in a wonderful place now. So I feel it's true for all of us. If we learn from what you shared and from what we are shared from other people to live, and from what Dr. Klein, to live in love and to always align ourselves to love, we are with spirit. We don't even have to think if we believe in the right thing or the wrong thing. It doesn't matter. Love is it. That's it. And your book is exactly what is there. Love is it. Thank you. Thank you for letting me share at the end, because I felt incomplete here. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Nehemiah. Well, if Cornelia, how we doing on the rooms? I'm gonna
The rooms are set up, so I
Okay.
can I can open them.
Okay, let's go ahead and
Just wanna say-
unmute.
Everyone needs to unmute first and say, I love you and I'm with you.
I love you.
I
and
love you
I
and
love
Love you and I'm with you. אני אוהב אותך ואני איתך. I love you and I'm with you.
Love you and I'm
I
with
love
you.
Renata and
Thank you
your
so much.
Shasta.
Love you and I'm
I
with
love you
you.
and I'm with you.
I love you.
Love you and I'm with
Bye,
you.
everybody.
אני אוהב אותך
See
ואני
you
איתך.
next
I love you and I'm with you.
time.
Thank you.